1986, a famous lawyer by the name of S.M. Otieno died. And immediately after that, there ensued a tussle, a legal tussle, with his widow, Wamboi Otieno, wanting to bury him in Upper Matasia, or with the permission of the city council then, in their current compound. On the other hand, the Omira Kagel clan and the brother to SM Otieno resisted that. And there was a long legal tussle with Justice Quach, then just a lawyer, representing the Omira Kagel clan, and Dr. John Haminwa. John Haminwa then representing the widow Wamboi Otieno. On the onset, I must say where my thoughts were. I believed, as I indeed do believe now, when a man is alive and he has his family, when he dies, other strangers, whether they are brothers or what, should not come to interfere and intimidate the widow. I still believe so. So I was on the side of Wamboi Otieno. I was extremely disappointed when the court ruled that the Omira Kagel clan, the brother and the cousin to SM Otieno, should go and bury the lawyer in Luo land, leaving behind a distraught widow. I sympathize and empathize with Wamboi Otieno. My disappointment must have rested firmly at the doorstep of Haminwa. I was so disappointed, and since that day, I have always had my reservations about the so-called big lawyers. Big lawyers. That these lawyers sometimes, if you remove the English from them and the suits they are putting on, they're just, some of them are outright useless. I'm not saying this of the respected Haminwa. But then I was I wasn't happy. I was disappointed because he was resting his case on common law. On the other hand, Quach, who described himself as a leopard, put the case and brought it within the realm and domain of customary law. If Haminwa had been sharp, he would have known the customary law was going to prevail. They said in that case, Luos are never buried anywhere outside Luo land. That was not true. I had a home in Kakamega those days, and there were Luo families there, burying Luos in those places. How difficult was it for Haminwa to do that? I was extremely disappointed. My second disappointment is the judiciary. In 2013, we had a chance to put it clean and square that nobody would ever rig an election in this country. Kibaki was going home, and therefore the incoming president was going to be a new president. If Justice William Mutunga had had the courage to annul that election, we would never be where we are, not ever again. Instead, he took refuge in what you call procedural issues. Yet one of the hallmark provisions of our Constitution is that justice shall be dispensed without undue regard to procedural issues. He regarded procedural issues at the expense of the substance, and he failed to nullify that election that was clearly due for nullification. Ditto 2017, Maraga nullified our elections. We were very happy. We were saying we were the fourth. In fact, we were not the fourth. We were the first people to nullify a presidential election. Because these others was a country of 500,000 people. Another one was, I think, Austria, where we have a ceremonial president, figurehead. Another one was, I don't know, Ukraine, and under circumstances that were not quite. So really, we were the first major country to nullify a presidential election. Yet, I took great exception to that ruling in one respect. How could the people have messed elections that much? And the Supreme Court could not identify people to punish. I immediately released a video saying, judiciary, the courts have no role play in politics. When people elect their president, courts should not come in. And how are they going to ensure that courts will never come in a political dispute? Simple. By punishing severely anybody who had messed the election. They ran away from that. So, people will repeat it again. Secondly, the repeat election shouldn't have been held. We all knew that. Judges ran away from the court on the, I think, 20-something, a day or so before the repeat election. Now, I want to say I have had my share of disappointment with the lawyers and the bench. The BBI appeal case is yet another reason for me to be disappointed. First, with the bench. The case was not managed well in my thinking, and I'm very respectful. I'm just making observations. Look, you allow each and everybody who appears in court to speak on such an issue, such an important issue of national importance, something that can even break the country. You allow every Tom, Dick, and Harry to come in and talk hours on end. I could not believe. And now we are being told by the same bench, they will deliver the judgment like 2 months away. The presidential elections are handled in a petition provided for by the Constitution. 14 days. And the Court of Appeal wants to convince me, and I want to tell them I'm not convinced, that you need that time to decide on such an important case. Let me give you the reason why I think you don't need that time. First, the way the court was managed. I thought we had learned something from status conferences with the ICC at The Hague. How these things are managed and time is allocated and handled. You find even lawyers taking an hour to introduce themselves in court. Well, I'm exaggerating a bit, but to make the point. Why can't you just have a list of lawyers? There are many issues in the court that are time-consuming, which, if we addressed, this thing would be okay. Secondly, like I've said, allowing people. Why did you take so long? Yet, the best thing about the Justice Ngugi judgment, the best thing is that it is in my view, and I'm not a lawyer, therefore I don't have a lot of experience and a lot of examples. In my view, that is the best written judgment I have come across in this country. So clear, the issues were isolated by Justice Ngugi bench. They were well articulated. The declarations and orders thereof were so clear, unlike many judgments and rulings in this country from our courts. I thought you didn't need even all that time to prepare to start the case and to listen to the case. And now, all this time you need, I think that is a disappointment I have with the courts. To the lawyers, my exception with lawyers has never disappeared. Looking at the Court of Appeal playing out, the big names, the lawyers on both sides, they were so disappointing. I must single out Gidu Muigai, Otienda Amolo, Paul Mwangi, Esther Ngawa, and I think Muthuma also. And it's also single out young men, single out young lawyers who really performed well. But generally speaking, the performance of the lawyers in this case, this BBI appeal case, was so underwhelming. GM tells me issues to do with kindergarten. This was almost kindergartenish. So underwhelming. And that's why I'm saying I'm happy with the young lawyers. I wish this country had a good education. In a video I released 2 or 3 days ago, I'm urging the cabinet secretary in charge of education, CS Magoha, to ensure we have a good education for our children. I was taking an issue with selection of set books. A lot of underhand deals because money is involved. I hope people reach Magoha to tell him to look into those books. Because I'm sorry to digress. Because you kill education if you give children bad books. Now, I'm saying these young lawyers, I really want to celebrate them. But look at the big lawyers. Look at the issues they were handling. It's only Gidu Muigai. If I was the defense lawyer, if I was the appellant, one of the lawyers for BBI, Raila and the rest, I would only need 2 hours. 2 hours. And after those 2 hours, no other lawyer on our side will talk. Because, like Haminwa did, by allowing Kwach to bring all manner of things, Orengos and the rest allowed the fellows to bring things that had nothing to do with the amendment. They should have rested the case almost in the manner Githu Muigai said, that somebody is stopping an amendment to the Constitution. The issues the appeal court was going to address were issues to do with the amendment to the Constitution. That all other issues were wonderful for scholarly purposes, wonderful for scholarly purposes, wonderful for the future. Indeed, I like people who have raised issues because there are issues we need resolved. Can the president be sued? Can our constitution, can our commission constituted with 9 members be deemed to be legal if it has 4? Those are issues that are good for determination, but they have nothing to do with amending the constitution. That's why Orengo therefore failed. They failed to make the courts to see that there are so many irrelevant issues to the amendment of the constitution. They should have rested their case after 2 hours and nothing else, and force the court to concentrate on matters of amendment. These other things are good. In fact, in the future we will need to protect certain clauses. We will do it through amendment of our constitution. We will need to tell the president to appoint judges, or we even remove that power from him. Article 166. But we will need to make those things clear. We will need to say there are certain clauses we can't amend or make the amendment so difficult for good reasons. But that is for future. So I am taking great exception to the lawyers. And I like Githu. Because Githu Muigai then says, if you want to know a bad lawyer, it's a lawyer who begins by saying the spirit of the Constitution. You go into the spirit, and then yet there are clear provisions in the law. I find it also amusing that the same people who are running into the spirit of something, when Atwoli says, Francis Atwoli and Manyora have also said, that these elections may not be held next year. Atwoli adds because of BBI. They quickly jump on the letter and the text of what he's saying. They do not interrogate anything beyond the text. Could be there something somebody else is seeing? Why are you now not seeing? Why are you now concentrating on the text and not seeing the possible dealings behind? Know something, the philosophy of things, the possibility we could run into headwinds. You now go into what somebody has just said. What I'm saying is, for the future of this country, we will need to ask our courts to be a little more serious than they are. And our lawyers, honestly, beyond your suits and beyond your good English, try to deal with things which even a common man can see from a point of view. I don't want to go into the details of this thing because it could be sub judice. I'm not a lawyer. But there are things I can dismiss outright in 5 minutes here that people are arguing in court. Most of them didn't make any sense. For this reason, I sympathize with the people who really wanted this BBI thing to be done in one way or the other. Either it is upheld or not up to the Supreme Court, so that as Raila talks about going to half-term and the reggae continuing, and by the way, Raila Odinga, if somebody is listening, tell Raila Odinga to leave Ruto alone. Don't call Ruto a thief. Because Kenyans are all thieves. So when you call him a thief, you are gaining nothing, honestly. What is it you are gaining? Kenyans are thieves. In fact, when you call him a thief, they say he's our thief. Don't be like PLO, who warned the people he was going to put them in when he was at the EACC. You get power. Once you get power, put the people in. Don't call them thieves now, because corruption is an industry, it's an enterprise. The entrepreneurs, the cartels, they will all gang up in one way. They are to be found everywhere. In the government, they could even be in the judiciary. They will be everywhere. They will all gang up Raila Odinga to ensure you don't become president. So stop calling somebody a thief. Just get power, and equipped with that power, weka heshima la tewa.